Hi and welcome. I'm Elvire Boulet from the Dimitrov Boulet Piano Duo, and in today's video I want to talk about octaves. So I'm actually preparing a piece for concert that has a lot of fast octave passages in it, and that's what inspired me to make today's video about octaves. So let's start with the number one mistake that people make when it comes to octave passages, and I definitely used to do this when I was a student, and that is inefficiency. I'm gonna try to pick you guys up and show my hands actually from above so that you can see a little bit better what I'm talking about. So what you want with octaves, and I'm just going to play a chromatic scale for you. What you want with octaves is you want to be as efficient as possible in your movements. So what you want is kind of to stay approximately on one line. As you see, I'm not trying to move my hands a lot, and what I see a lot with students, especially if you have to do something like a chromatic scale going from black to white key, I see a lot of this going on, zigzagging, which is extremely inefficient, and you lose a lot of time and of course energy if you do this so inefficiently. So that's number one. I see a lot of inefficiency with octave passages, especially going a zigzagging kind of movement like this, instead of trying to stay on one line. So especially this with black and white keys. And if students play octaves only on the white keys, I see a lot of inefficiency in moving a lot up and down, instead of just keeping really close to the key. So these are the two types of inefficiency that I see. And what we do want to see, instead of the zigzagging behavior, is we want to see small movements. And if you have to go from black to white key, we want to see that you approximately stay on one line. So in other words, you have to play your octaves on the white key very close to the black key. As you see how close I am actually to the black key. Don't play it here, because you'll have to travel a very long distance to get to that black key. So play your octave really deep, actually, into the keyboard. So I hope that was a bit visible for you. I hope that made it clear. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. Just leave them in the comments below. So that brings us actually immediately to the second point that I wanted to talk to you about, and that is the correct fingering. Now, you might have already seen me do it when you were just observing me playing the chromatic scale, but it is best to do 1/4, so your first and your fourth finger on the black keys. And it has two reasons. The first one is, so if you look at the keys, the black key is simply narrower than the white key. And it is easier to slide off of a black key with your fifth finger, or to not catch it properly, than with your fourth finger. That's the first reason. And the second reason is that if you change up the fingers, 5/4, 5/4, 5/4, on the black keys, this is more relaxed for your hands. Instead of going every time 5/5, try to just only with your pinky go in a chromatic scale 5/5, 5/5, 5. This is actually much more difficult to do than if you go 5/4, 5/4, 5. You'll see that is much more natural, much easier, much more efficient. It's also more easy to be efficient, by the way, if you do 5/4. These two things are the reason that we would like to play on the black key 1/4 and not 1/5. Which immediately brings me already into my third point that I wanted to talk about, small hands. So when you have small hands, 1/5 is already pretty tough on your hands, let alone if you actually have to do 1/4 on an octave. And it took me a very long time to get used to this fingering, to stretch the hands in such a way that they're used to the fingering 1/4, despite that they're small. So my recommendation is that if you're just starting out with octaves and you don't have large hands, you have small hands, try to be as efficient as you can. Try to really take heart that you don't make your movements too large, that you don't zigzag too much. So don't go so much from the edge of the key back to the black key if you are playing chromatic scales or chromatic octaves. So really try to incorporate that efficiency in in your octaves, just, you know, do it with 1/5 for now. And if you get more and more used to, and you don't experience any pain, try to introduce every now and then the fingering 1/4. That's how I did it. I introduced the fingering 1/4 every now and then. I didn't immediately do it every single time. I just started out real slow. Every now and then I did 1/4, especially if they weren't fast octaves, you know, to get my fingers really used to this stretched kind of position. And if you add that really calm, and you keep on adding that fingering, you keep on trying it out wherever it is more or less comfortable for you, you will be able to build that really up. And build up is the key here, because when you have small hands, be extremely careful with octaves. It is very easy to injure yourself because it's a stretched position and your hands are under a lot of tension. So you have to be very, very careful and build things very slow when you have small hands. Okay, so finally, let's talk about actually 2 exercises that you can do that I found very helpful. I have to honestly say that I, for a very long time, just thought I sucked at octaves because my hands were small and that there was nothing I could do about it. But since I do these exercises, I've seen a huge improvement in my octaves, and I think that it will help you too. So the exercises are actually really simple. I use them from the Hanon book. And if you have been following us for a while, you know that we have discussed Hanon before. It has a lot of exercises for fingers, but it also has all scales and all kind of arpeggios, a lot of basic techniques for piano. And it has scales in octaves. And I found this to be extremely useful. Also for the build-up that I just talked to you about the fingering, if you want to really build that fingering 1/4, if you have, for example, you take the scale of G major, there's only one black key in that, and you can very easily incorporate and build up this fingering of 1/4 by only doing the whole scale. So with 1/5, because you have only white keys, and then when you come to the F sharp, you practice doing this with 1/4. So that's a great way to build up actually getting used to that fingering. So it's really simple. You don't actually need the book. I just find it very comfortable to actually read the scales from the book. But they're just the basic piano scales, so just C major, but in octaves. And they're actually over more octaves than that I just showed you. And they're both hands at the same time. But you can also build up this exercise any way you want. You can do 1 octave first with one hand, and just build it up however you want it. Another great exercise you can do, it's also in the Hanon book, is broken octaves. This is a very heavy one for the hands when you especially have small hands. So be careful with that. But it's very simple. It's just, you start again, it's a normal scale, any scale you want. It can be C major, it can be G major, anything. And instead of playing an octave, you play a broken octave. And that is a fantastic way to build up stamina. And that being said, like I said, and I will mention it again because this really needs to be very, very well imprinted in your mind. If you have small hands, or even if you have big hands and you feel pain, please stop. Please be very, very careful with octaves. With octaves, your hands are under a lot of tension. It is just simply so easy to get injured. So my advice would be to always practice octaves in very, very short amounts. So do 1 scale every day is much better, and only start increasing if you really feel that you can do that easily without pain. As soon as you have pain, stop. Take a few seconds, try to really relax your hands, shake them out, and try again. If you still experience pain, just stop for the day. Don't take any chances with this. Okay, so just to recap, number 1 mistake with octaves is inefficiency, and that can be moving from the black and the white keys, making a too large movement, to being too much at the edge of the key with the white keys. And if you need to play a black key, you have to make way too big of a movement to catch up with the black key. So try to find efficiency as much as you can in these movements. And if you're playing only octaves on the wide keys, try to find efficiency by staying close to the key instead of approaching it from very far. Try to really stay close, because you'll lose less energy and you'll lose less time. You'll be able to play faster with less effort. So efficiency, definitely key here. Try to already start incorporating the correct fingering on the black keys, which is 1-4. If you're not used to, or if you have very small hands, just introduce this very, very slowly. See it really as a long-term thing that will improve your technique over time. Remember to be very careful. Always stop when you have pain. And lastly, in order to improve your octave in general, check out the hand-on if you already have the book, or just start by playing simple scales, simple even 1-octave scales, but instead of single notes, play them in octaves. Of course, there's many more things that you can do. There's many more things that come into play with octave technique, but I think that we've covered some of the basics here already. Now, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them below. We always love to hear from you. Also, if you have requests, we've been getting a lot of requests lately, and we absolutely love that. We're adding everything to our filming schedule. We love to hear what's relevant for you. Now, it was a great pleasure to make this. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you want to support us and if you want us to continue making videos. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. We post there regularly. And I think that was it. So don't forget to practice. Let me know how your octaves are doing. Let me know if this video helped. And me and Dimitar will see you next week.